Welcome to Not Ashamed. I'm your host, Ashley Nordman. Thank you guys so much for listening today. We're gonna talk about a topic that is very pertinent to my life and something that I deal with all the time. And as I was reflecting before I recorded this today, I have realized that this is something that I've actually endured my entire life. And thinking back on it, it's like, damn, is it ever gonna go away? It's not. And the topic is bullying and dealing with people that are trying to ruin your reputation. This is something that I've touched on in other episodes, and especially if you listen to my first episode, you know that I went through some bullying in high school, but in reality, it's something that's been like a lifelong thing for me and something that I've just accepted that is never gonna go away. And I know so many women who deal with this, whether it's being actually bullied or just having other women try to tear them down and ruin their reputation. And so I want to give you some really solid input on how to overcome dealing with this and how to live your life knowing that, you know, this might never go away, but it's something you can manage and something that you can kind of use as fuel to make yourself or to put yourself in a better place. So bullying is a form of aggressive behavior that the intention is to bring discomfort or even physical pain. Sometimes people will like actually hurt you or hit you. But most of the time, bullying is coming in forms of like verbal abuse or cyberbullying or something, you know, that can affect you socially. And for me, the type of bullying I'm going to be discussing involves, you know, using harmful words, trying to ruin someone's reputation, trying to kick you out of, you know, your social groups. Those are the things that I've dealt with my entire life and something that I'm still dealing with now, unfortunately. And when I think back on it, I mean, being bullied was something that really did pivot and alter like the future of myself when I was younger, because it kind of put me in a place where I just had to get strong really fast and make a lot of changes. And I'm grateful for it because it led me here. But I know also the dark side of bullying where it can, you know, put you in a place where you don't feel like you need to be here anymore, or where you might end up doing aggressive things or just things that are harmful to yourself. And so when I think back on like being bullied, I think of like the first instance that I ever dealt with this, which was when I was in like kindergarten. Literally, I was so young. And I rode the school bus every day. And we were on the school bus for an hour and a half every single day because I lived so far away from the school. And there was this girl, she was older than me, and she would always pick on me. I had a big gap between my teeth, and she called me Bucktooth Betty. And I just remember like being so mortified to get on the bus and always feeling like terrified because she was going to bully me around and make fun of me and pick on me, and it would make me cry, and I would never even want to ride the bus because I didn't want to deal with like her crap. And I had friends that rode the bus with me. I had, you know, a whole group of people that I like loved riding on the bus with, and she ended up finding a way to like get all of them to turn on me, and they'd all pick on me all the time. And I started feeling really ugly and like really down about myself. And it was just very, very hard on me in terms of like my self-esteem and how I felt about myself. And as I navigated kindergarten through like third grade, I remember just never really feeling good enough. And I think a lot of it stemmed from this girl planting all this doubt in myself because my friends were picking on me, especially like my physical appearance, which was something I couldn't change. Now, luckily, as I grew up, my gap closed and people stopped making fun of me when it came to that. But the damage had already been done. Like I already felt like my self-worth was like crushed, and I felt like my physical appearance was something that like determined like how important I was. And so oddly, you know, at the time I was like a tomboy and I didn't really care about what I looked like, but at the same time, like I was super insecure about what I looked like because people were always picking on that. And then when I got into junior high and I started going through puberty and changing and like getting more girly and getting prettier, the bullying kind of came back. I went from like being ugly and people making fun of me for being ugly to being pretty and people making fun of me for being pretty. And I still remember in junior high school, like I'd started getting more attention. And again, I was starting to look more girly, starting to dress cuter, starting to lean out a little bit, like look more feminine. And I don't think some of my friends liked that. They didn't like the attention I was getting. They didn't like just seeing me like blossom. And I started getting bullied again. And it was anything from just little jokes about the clothes I wore or my frizzy hair, because I had really curly, crazy hair that I could not manage. And I still remember the day that all of my friends were sitting at the lunch table with me, and this one guy asked me to get up and go buy him a milk. And I was always like that kind of girl where like if someone asked me to do anything, I'd do it. And I was like, sure, I'll go get you a milk. It was 25 cents. I took a quarter, went and got him a milk. And when I came back, my like tray had been sitting on the table, and it was burger day. So we had like cheeseburgers with fries and like applesauce or something. And I'll never forget, I started eating my burger and every single person at the table started laughing. And I just remember my heart sinking and being like, what is going on? Like, what did I just miss out on? Well, the boy that had asked me to go get him a milk literally spit of loogie in my burger and like covered it back up. And then they all watched me eat it. And I can barely like even say it because it's so gross thinking of this. Like, it was so disgusting. I just remember bawling my eyes out and running into the bathroom and just thinking like, first of all, I was like gagging because it was so disgusting. And secondly, I just felt so embarrassed and ashamed because I couldn't believe that my friends would like let him do that to me and that they thought it was funny. And it might not sound like the biggest deal, but it was a huge deal. Like I was in 7th grade maybe, and all I wanted was to be accepted. And I just felt like I was always a target. I was always getting picked on. And then that was just like a new low. And so I remember seriously hiding for like hours in the bathroom. I wouldn't even come out. I was so embarrassed. I didn't want anybody to see me. And like the rest of that school year, I started just really kind of being more reserved because I was so scared of like getting hurt again. And I remember like not being able to really trust my friends, but yet I still wanted them to accept me. It was this very like weird middle ground where like they were horrible to me, but I still wanted their acceptance. So I was always trying to like perform for them or give them things or buy them things or whatever it might be. I mean, obviously I was in like junior high. I didn't have any money, but I probably like would buy them a sticker or whatever and do like little stuff just to like gain their acceptance. And then when I got into high school, I had became really, really good at sports at this point. I was really good at running. I was really good at pretty much anything that I applied myself to. And so I had gotten significantly more in shape. Like again, when I was in junior high, I hit puberty and I started like leaning out a lot. And then into high school, that's when I really found like my fit body where I was like healthier looking and leaner and skinnier and taller. And I was getting more attention. You know, the senior guys were interested in me. They were talking to me. And I had a lot of friends that were older. And again, people didn't like that. They didn't like seeing me excel in sports. I was also very smart. I was a straight A student. I was in like AP classes. And, you know, in hindsight, I can see where all this came from. In the moment, I didn't. But looking back, I know it was because I was a target for people. You know, I was doing a lot of great things for myself and really excelling. And that was triggering to people. And so the rumor mill started again in high school where now they decided to start saying, you know, this group of people started saying that I had an eating disorder. And I think this whole thing started because people couldn't really believe that I was just fit and healthy and like looking better. And they were like jealous that I was getting in like really good shape because I was a runner. So I had definitely a runner body. I was very lean, had good muscle, and I'm 16 years old, you know? And so people started just spreading all these rumors that I had an eating disorder, and that's how I had leaned out, and that's why I was looking so fit and healthy. And again, my entire friend group, which actually, ironically, was the same group of people that in junior high school that I was hanging out with that watched me eat this disgusting burger, all started ganging up on me, claiming that I had all these mental problems and that I had an eating disorder. And I went to a very small school, so the whole school found out very quickly and started believing it. The girl who I thought was my best friend is the person who had started this rumor because she was jealous of me. And it just crushed me. You know, I'm over here going, I don't have an eating disorder. I'm just healthy and I eat well and I'm training hard and I'm doing all the things I can do to be as healthy as I can. And now these people are using it against me. Well, unfortunately, when you're 16 years old, you're not as strong as maybe you are now, like I am in my 30s. And when I was 16 and people were telling me this, I started doubting myself. I started going, oh my gosh, maybe these people are right. Like maybe I do have an eating disorder. Like I just eat really healthy and very regimented and, I make a lot of great choices, but maybe that's actually me being disordered. Maybe I have a problem. Maybe I'm, being obsessive and I don't realize it. Well, the bullying started getting worse and worse and people just like wouldn't lay off. And again, I put so much of my worth in like how I looked because I had learned in kindergarten on the bus that if you were ugly, you were hated. And so in high school, I really cared about what I looked like. My appearance was everything to me. And I was proud of the body I had built. I was proud of how I looked. But people started telling me that I shouldn't be. They started telling me that I was ugly, that I was too skinny, that I was too lean, that I was too, fit. And eventually it broke me down. And I ended up actually developing an eating disorder. And I think looking back, like when people tell you something enough, you start believing it. And I also was in a really dark place. And if you know anything about bullying, when you're bullied, you're more likely to suffer from anxiety and depression. And I definitely started becoming clinically depressed and I was taking medication for it. And I also know that with bullying, it can make you want to regain control because you feel like you don't have control in some areas of your life. And so for me, I think it actually did help me in a weird way gain some control back by controlling my food. And so I wasn't bulimic or anything like that, but I did start like hyper focusing on like how much food I was intaking, how many calories I was consuming. I was writing down what I was eating. I had a mental like running list all day long in my head of what I was eating. And I started becoming like hyper focused on every single thing I put in my body. And I genuinely think I wouldn't have developed an eating disorder had I not gotten bullied so bad. But eventually I just got to this place where it's almost like I gave in. Like you tell yourself you're a bad person, so you just become a bad person. Like that's called a self-fulfilling prophecy. And for me, it was like a self-fulfilling prophecy. I started telling myself I had an eating disorder, and then I developed an eating disorder. And then not to mention, like I was going through a lot of stress at home. My home life wasn't great. I was working a ton. I was doing 3 sports. I just had a lot on my plate and I was very stressed. And so for me, it was an area of my life that I could control as well as I wanted, as, nobody could decide for me what went in my mouth. Only I could. And so it was something that I used as like a crutch and as something that could just kind of fulfill an area of my life where I wasn't getting the control that I wanted because I felt so out of control with people starting all these rumors about me. And so I ended up going to like a very dark place and I was under 100 pounds. I was super, super skinny. And by then it was probably my sophomore or maybe junior year of high school where it really had gotten bad and people at that point like absolutely knew that I had an issue. And then to all these people, it's like, oh, the rumors are true. We said she had an eating disorder all along and now she does. And so I was completely rejected from my friend group. I mean, completely at this point. I sat alone at lunch. I got picked on by the teachers. I remember going into class and people throwing those like Ensure drinks at me, telling me to eat food. I'd walk down the hallway. People would be like, girl, go eat a cheeseburger. I was getting threats all the time. People trying to like force me to eat. They would sit down at lunch and stare at me, watching every little thing I put down, like put in my mouth or on my plate. And it just became really, really toxic. And, I really wish the bullying stopped there, but it didn't. When I got older, it came back again and it's come back again now. But high school was easily the worst because I was in such a bad mental place. I didn't understand what bullies' intent was, what a bully's intention was, I guess is the better way to put it. I didn't understand why people bullied me. And now that I do, I don't let them have control over me anymore. I don't let them dictate how I feel about myself. But when I was in high school, I didn't know any better. And all I wanted was acceptance from people. And if people felt a type of way about me, I took that in as if that was fact. Like, if you think I'm a bad person, then I must be a bad person. If you think I have an eating disorder, then I must have an eating disorder. If you think I'm not pretty enough, then I'm definitely not pretty enough. But what I'll get into is that none of that is actually true. It's just something that it's easy for you to believe in that moment, because that's what these bullies want, is they want you to believe whatever they're, putting on you. So in high school, when I was getting bullied really bad, I eventually escaped it. I graduated high school early and got the hell away from all those people. And luckily, that's when I first started like my healing journey to like getting away from all the bullying. But unfortunately, it came back again in college. When I was in a sorority, I just didn't really fit in, and I got bullied a lot for being fit and being healthy while I was in college and all my friends were drinking. And honestly, at that point, I had gotten thicker skin, so it didn't affect me so much. And then, fast forward to now in my 30s, and I'm a business owner and a CEO, and I work hard. I have a lot of bullies. I have a lot of people that try to drag me down. They try to run my name through the mud. They go on social media and bash me. They have Reddit threads about me. There is plenty of shit out there about me. And where I'm getting at with this whole thing is like, it just has never ended for me. Like, it started in kindergarten, and then here I am in my 30s, and I'm still getting the same shit that I did then. But the difference is high school me and 31-year-old me are in two completely different mindsets. 16-year-old me didn't understand that these bullies were actually just seeking power. They were actually people who didn't have a high self-esteem. They didn't have the love that I had. They didn't have the support that I had. They didn't have the success that I had. And they felt that dragging me down would somehow make them feel better. People that are bullies are deeply insecure, and they really, really crave attention. And it seems kind of backwards because, I feel like if you're a bully, why are you so worried about attention? Why are you so insecure? Like, if you're a bully, you usually seem like someone who's really, really confident. And, they're so confident that they're willing to bash you. But in reality, it's the total opposite. They're actually super, super insecure and unhappy with themselves. And so they see you and they see something that you have that they don't, and they want to drag you down to their level. But when you're 16, like I was, dealing with bullying and dealing with people trying to ruin my reputation, all I ever thought was that it was a me problem and that I wasn't good enough and that I was the issue and that I must be doing something that offends these people. I must be a horrible person. And with a lot of therapy and self-reflection and understanding and working on myself and developing healthy habits that really got my mind right, I started understanding that none of bullying is about me. It's entirely about them. It's that they're unhappy and that they can't handle that you use your 24 hours differently than they do. And it's actually not something that is any of my business. If you don't like me or you don't like who I am, that's fine. That's your opinion and you're entitled to it. But where the problem lies is that we're human and we don't ever want to not be liked. We don't want people to hate us. We don't want people to talk shit. And like for me, especially me, I grew up in a very small town. So my reputation is everything. And it always has been. And it's not because I want to be liked. I mean, yes, I do. But it's because I hold myself to a standard where I want to do good and I want people to know me as who I am, which is a good person. And so when people try to threaten that, it pisses me off. It really fucking pisses me off. And I'm so sick of it. But the one thing I've finally understood is that this is never going to go away. For the rest of my life, I'm going to deal with bullies. I'm going to deal with people who try to drag me down because I'm always trying to improve. I'm always trying to be better. I don't like drama. I don't like dragging other people down. I don't like talking shit. It's not my thing. I don't get any enjoyment out of that. And so people like me become targets. And that's okay. Like I'm strong enough now that you can go ahead and say and do whatever you want about me. And if you're dealing with bullying, I have a friend right now who's dealing with it. And she called me the other day and we were literally crying together because she just can't figure out how to escape it. Her ex just will not quit bullying her. He knows how to get under her skin. He knows what to say to trigger her. He knows so much about her that he knows the little things that he can say and do to really upset her. And he'll go and spread rumors about her. He'll go and say all kinds of bad shit, trying to get all these people to like gang up on her and like take his side. And the thing I have to constantly remind her, is that the truth will always come out. And lies are loud and the truth is silent. So if someone's running around, running their mouth, trying to talk bad about you, 99% of the time, it's all fabricated. It's not even real. They're just talking shit because they can. And another thing is when people, especially bullies, say these kind of things, these awful things about you, all they're looking for is a reaction. And so while it takes a lot of discipline and strength to close your mouth, do not give them the reaction they want. Do not give into it. Do not ever let them know that that hurts you. Because when they get that response out of you, they won. They literally won. When they get you upset, crying, mad, angry, doubting yourself, they just won. That's what they want. They want you to question yourself. They want you to feel bad. They want you to give in to what they're saying because then they win. Then they have control. Then they have the power. And all bullying is an imbalance of power. They want power over you and they feel like in that moment they have the power because they just manipulated you, twisted you, changed your reality, whatever it might be. And so the only way you can escape it really, or at least find happiness in my opinion, is to just literally not respond, to just diffuse the whole situation by not giving in. So when I have people bullying me, like I have right now happening on social media, on threads, online, on all kinds of things, I literally don't even read them. I don't even look. I don't even respond. I don't even answer. I just keep moving forward. I literally just keep doing what I'm always going to do. And I don't take 1 second to waste my energy looking at what they're saying or doing, because when I do, that's when I'm going to change how I show up. Because I changed how I showed up for so long. You know, in high school, I stopped showing up. I tried to skip school. I didn't want to go to school. I didn't want to be around anybody. I was taking antidepressants. I was in a low place because I let everyone else dictate how I felt about me. And now I will never do that because I know what that felt like. And the literal one thing that I can say to any of you dealing with bullying is that the only way that you can ever escape it is to just shut them down by not responding. But it's like the hardest thing ever, right? Like especially when you're already dealing with like self-esteem stuff and like not feeling fully confident, when you're not a confident person and someone attacks you, your brain immediately goes, see, I already was like insecure about that. And then they just attacked me for that. So that must be true. And so that's why it's so important that you build your confidence while you're enduring this, because you have to build that inner voice and listen to that. And you have to really like know who you are. And for me, like following a nutrition plan, working out every day, sticking to my commitments, excelling in school, excelling in my career, whatever it might be, like those things make me feel confident in me. And that's how I rebuild trust in myself. And I start actually listening to that voice inside myself because I trust me. And I think of Daisy from The Bachelor. She just was talking about this. She knew she wasn't going to get picked. She literally looked inside herself and heard that inner voice that said, I'm not gonna win. Like, he isn't gonna choose me. I'm not going to be chosen. And she knew that before it even happened. And she is someone, I would argue, that is probably pretty confident in herself because she knows to look inward and she knows to reflect and she knows to like really trust that inner voice and like lean into that. And that's something that I've learned to do too. And it's really hard sometimes hearing your inner voice and to know it's telling you something maybe not positive. Like everyone wants, to win The Bachelor. Everyone wants to be loved. Everyone wants to be chosen. But if you know deep down that you're not going to be or that it's not for you and you lean into that and you're okay with that, that's a whole new level of strength. And that's just one small example. But to me, like, that shows you how when you work on yourself and you only let your own inner thoughts dictate the path you're going to go down, you really are unshakable, because you could become so depressed if you didn't get chosen by someone. You could become so depressed and so down if you miss an opportunity, you don't get that job, you don't, win some title that you're looking for or that you're working for. But when you know who you are and you know, that inner voice, it's a strength and a confidence that even if something isn't for you or you don't get something out of life, you know that you're going to be okay, because you don't put your self-worth in other people. You know who you are and what you bring to the table, and that's all that matters. And so as much as I hate being bullied, as much as I fucking hate always having to freaking bite my tongue and not say anything when people try to drag me through the mud, I know who I am, and the right people will trust that and believe me. And if you feel like you always have to defend yourself or you always have to try to impress other people, why? Like, those aren't your people. If you have to impress people and win them over and try to convince them otherwise, why? Like, what's the point? You already know your answer. They're not for you. Be sure to listen to part 2, where I discuss why I had to take a drug test and cut a chunk of my hair out. So you'll definitely want to listen to that. Till next time, be loud, be proud, and be shameless. Visit us at anskinbeauty.com to shop all of our medical grade skincare.